Hi, everyone. I hope everyone on the line is able to hear me. We're going to get started. We still have a few more people that are logging on, but for the sake of time, like today's webinar, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that everyone is extremely busy right now. It is June. Based on the number of out of offices I've received, there are people who are on vacation or also traveling. So thank you so much for carving out some time to join us today because we are really excited to talk to you a little bit about the labor study. The key focus is really to talk about our Let's Go Build campaign, but we really did want to talk a little bit about the labor study because we have spent a lot of time trying to collect responses and really try to get some great industry data. Before we move on, I would like to say a special thank you to everyone who participated in the survey. This would not have been possible without members being engaged and supporting the initiative and really providing information about your businesses so that we can get a good big picture of what the industry is facing in terms of gaps and challenges, where the opportunities lie, and then, of course, where we as a WRLA association can lead the way in terms of developing programs and services that can really help to address some of these key issues, particularly as it surrounds labor. As we know, it's the number one issue, not just for us, but for a lot of industry sectors. And we need to be hot out of the gates in terms of trying to get our industry on the map. So huge thank you to all the members that participated. I also would be remiss not to thank the government of Alberta, who also provided us with $100,000 in order to fund this survey. We would not have been able to do this without their support, and of course, with the support of Malatest, who then deployed the survey on our behalf and worked for members. While the focus was to be on Alberta, we did actually launch the exact same survey across our territories. So the statistics that you're going to see today very much are consistent across the board and do fall in line. So we have a really great broad perspective of what we're working with here. So I'm just gonna jump right in and get going here before I pass it off over to Chris. We do want to mention that if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We are going to be monitoring the questions at the end of the presentation, just in case we are going to cover off some of the curiosity that you might have through some of the presentation. And of course, we've got some polls and questions for you, which will help us with our takeaways in terms of some of our using action items in developed program services. So today's purpose is really to discuss the why of the LBM study, why we needed to go through this, review some of the key findings, background on what the Let's Go Build campaign is and its key goals, and review how members' engagement is critical and how you and your teams can get behind the program as well. So we know that everyone needs more workers. This has been a hot topic since the pandemic. And of course, a lot of people have been asking the question, where did everybody go? There is some growth in some sectors. So we have seen that piece. But we really started this campaign in the fall of 2022. We extended it into 2023 because we wanted to make sure that we did get some good responses. I'm not sure if you know what it's like to sometimes collect surveys, but not everybody likes to respond to them, especially if they're long. So this was a little bit of a longer one. So it took a little bit more time for us to garner some of the support that we were looking for. And it really was an in-depth study to understand where the vacancies are, if there's plans for growth, which we see there will be growth for the industry, and we have actually seen that since the pandemic. And of course, there's some things that are going on in the next 2 to 5 years that are really going to have an impact as well. We wanted to get an understanding of what the retention rate is, what the retirements look like as well. And to be quite honest with you, the government doesn't have a lot of information on our industry in terms of statistics and data. And any of you on the line who've worked with us, even on the government relations side and advocacy side, you're very familiar that we often have to really talk about who the industry is. We're certainly not on the radar, yet we have such a crucial impact and huge significant impact from an economic standpoint, as well as a broad scope in terms of where we are in terms of reach with the industry. We're in 330 plus communities just in Western Canada. And we wanted to really get an understanding of where some of the gaps are, what numbers of employees are going to need to fill current vacancies, what are we potentially looking at for the future, and of course, talking about the recruitment and retention challenges, which is certainly an area where we're really highly focused on because we do have some opportunity to build some programs and services. And quite honestly, this also really helped us to validate some of the direction that we've been moving on with the board in terms of what the direction is for the industry as well. So some of the key demographics and stats, we did want to do a little bit of get a good picture of what the demographics look like. And one of the key things that struck us is that the rate of retirement is that 19% of the industry is going to be retiring in the next 5 years. And that's pretty significant. And when we look at that demographic, one of the things that we found in this survey is that demographic age group tends to occupy a lot of senior and very technical positions within the industry, and certainly an area we need to be having a little understanding where the needs lie or where we might need to fill in gaps from some other organizations to provide support to our members for the training and development to get people up to speed on that. But that is, we've always talked about how we know that there's going to be a lot of retirements coming up, but we now have that validated, and there's a timeline in terms of percentages. We also wanted to get an understanding of what recruitment and retention looks like. And in terms of the attrition, 37% of the employees that leave an employer who answered the survey usually leaves to find another role within the industry. But we are losing a lot of people. We're losing 63% of employees. And I think this is an area where we can do a little bit better in terms of how we are training and developing some of these folks, as well as showcasing some of the pathways within. And, this kind of ties into some of the conversations that I've had with some members. Being out on the road, last year, I did have a chance to chat with a few folks when I was in some of the smaller communities, and they tend to find that they might lose somebody from their organization to go work and, let's say do clean houses or something else because they're going to get an immediate $2 extra per hour. But the one thing that we took away from that is that if we can do a better job of showcasing the pathways within and the opportunities within each of those organizations, we might have the ability to retain some of those folks. So this was a really important stat and something that we definitely will want to follow up with as we continue to do surveys. Oh, kill my video? Oh, sorry, I was told my feed is not good, so I'm going to turn my video off. Sorry about that. And if I need to go back to anything, just let me know. So just to recap, over the next 5 years, there's an anticipated rate of retirement of 19%. And we really want to hone in on the statistic of the 63% of the employees that are departing and leaving this sector altogether, because we need to understand why that is. So a little bit of research is required there, and probably an opportunity for us to do a little bit better in terms of showcasing pathways and offering training and development to keep some of those folks in. The majority of employers expect to see they're going to need an increase in overall size of their workforce, and that's about a 2.5% increase that we're looking at. On the recruitment and retention side, which is a really key area of focus for us, some of the key takeaways on the overall proportion of underrepresented groups. And on the previous slide, you can see that, a quarter of the new hires fall in the underrepresented groups, and it's certainly an area where we can do a better job of promotions. And I think just promotion of the industry itself, it is certainly a huge opportunity for us, which is where Let's Go Build comes in. Some of the other challenges noted is the low starting salaries, particularly at the entry-level positions, and lack of sector knowledge amongst the labor pools. And when we talk about the low starting salaries, just an example for talking about how maybe some entry-level folks may not see the pathways to employment or the pathway to growth within their career where they currently are at, and they might leave to go somewhere else for an immediate $2 raise. But there's an area where we can continue to work on. And this is also an interesting topic, and one that we really did talk about a lot during the pandemic, is that we learned that there's a higher carrying capacity for what people are willing to pay for their building materials. And there's a bit of a race to the bottom mentality that has existed based on what I've been told. And it's really important for us as an industry to focus in on that. Because the more profitable organizations be, obviously, the more that you can invest back into your business. And that's certainly an area of conversation that we've had with a lot of members. And actually, I can see based on some of the people online, they were part of spearheading some of those conversations and have pointed out of not having that race to the mentality. A general lack of professional development and training opportunities. The industry relies heavily on informal training, which is usually done in-house. but we really need to have a better understanding of what the progression needs to look like for those employees, and also help to train them and have some more relevant training that's industry focused to help alleviate some of the work and some of the admin on the side of our members. So this is certainly an area where we've been investing a lot of our time and want to continue to invest, because at the end of the day, we're here to help make your jobs easier. And if we can take some of this information, develop some really good protocols or even pathways to employment that you can then deploy to your employees, that makes it easy for them to learn, and then you can focus on some of the specifics within your business as well. 2/3 of the employers reported that their company does not have a written human resource strategy, so really doesn't have a focus on how they're going to continue to recruit and retain employees, both for the short term and the long term. So what our takeaway is the top 3 priorities for us to focus on and to work on with alongside our members is the development of professional training and education programs to prepare for jobs in the sector. And this is where our membership will be really critical in terms of providing us with the intel of what your needs are so that we can develop that. And if you haven't been paying attention to what we've been doing on the WRLA Academy side, we've revamped our estimating courses, have put them on to really slick learning management systems. We've definitely upped our technology. We look like we're part of the new age of learning, and we have the opportunity to do a lot more because we have established our own curriculum team who is here to help build the training and development so that we can professionalize the industry further. Connections with job fairs and employment services to connect to people looking for work. This is an area where we did start focusing some energy on, but COVID really made an impact on some of the things that we can do, but we absolutely have some opportunity to work together here. Public relations or advertising campaigns to promote the sector to youth. And this is really where the Let's Go Build campaign comes in as well, which we're going to talk about just in a moment here. So some of the key recommendations that came out of this survey, and I'm going to have Anu also post some questions for you. There's some feedback that is going to be critical for us to be able to move programs forward that we need from our members. And based on what we found here today, and based on what we've learned, we do have some questions we'd like to have responded to. And of course, we will send a full document so everyone can go through the details as you desire. But the key recommendations that we have is that the LBM must aggressively expand their target pools. And that's where we really need to make sure we have a campaign, but are also engaging, having our members engage with it as well, so that we also can have this big spider web. And I envision Spider-Man casting a huge web across the West, and then of course capturing everyone within it. And that's how I envision this Let's Go Build taking off, that we all work together to make sure that the message is being shared. And as you have postings, you can share that alongside. The LBM must enhance remuneration at entry levels. Again, it's an area where we would be interested to learn what some of the strategies are, and one of the questions will pertain to that. Sector employees must work together to increase awareness of the sector, and that's where we can work together on the Let's Go Build, but making sure that we're all being really good ambassadors to the industry as well. And sector employers should develop formal training and progression strategies. And this is certainly an area where the WRLA is very keen to help our membership so that we can better support your needs as well. And the development, I'm just going to pause here for one moment because I believe Anu is going to post the questions for you. And I just want to make sure that everyone has a little bit of time to take a look at that. Okay, I'll keep moving on as we work through some of those questions. You might need a little bit of time just to go through some of them. We also have it in a SurveyMonkey link, which we can send out after the fact if you prefer to take that route. But the Let's Go Build campaign was basically used to upgrade from our former Next Gen program, which some of you may have been familiar with. And the Next Gen program was used to attract younger talent, or really focus on working with the younger talent and having them exchange or engage with the industry in various roles. But one of the things that we found is it really did become more of a smaller networking event, and there's certainly some opportunity to really increase the awareness of our industry on the map. We learned through our government advocacy that they didn't really know who we were. And of course, people don't know what they don't know. When you go to different career fairs, and we did a little bit of recon attending some various career fairs, and we found that when you watch students, there's various behaviors. They really do relate to a uniform or something that's familiar to them in terms of how they've grown up as children. Doctors, teachers. I'm sure at one point all of us have said we wanted to be a doctor or teacher. And if you haven't, well, then that's awesome. But I know I've probably said every single one of those professions that has a uniform that I do relate to. But really, the point of this is to address the industry and to also showcase some ambassadors to really highlight variety and the diversity that is within. There is room for everybody in this industry, and that's where we launched our Let's Go Build campaign, which phase one truly is about creating public awareness for the industry. This is the brand that we're to be using for participating visit. And of course, we're looking to expand our product offering by being able to deliver industry-specific career fairs, should that be something you're interested in, and obviously one of the questions that we have in our survey. So this is what we've been working on for the last, we've been working on it for a really long time. COVID had a huge impact on us. Thank you, Micah Flegg, who is the chair of this committee on our board. He displayed extreme patience as we navigated through the pandemic, and then of course, all the learnings that we received from that so that we can move forward. So that's basically the Let's Go Build in a nutshell. We have had it operating now for the past 3 months, which is the first quarter of our fiscal year. And I'm now going to pass it over to Chris in our office, who's going to review with you some of the successes that we've had. It's probably more than we actually anticipated initially. And to also showcase some of the material that we have. We do have a toolkit that you'll have the ability to download as well, because we have a fancy QR code, again, back to the technology that we've elevated within our office. And of course, some suggestions and opportunities for you to engage, and as well as your team. So again, I'm going to pass it over here to Chris. Thank you so much for your attention to the first part of this. And we'll be happy to take your questions at the very end. Chris?
I'm ready to go. Thanks, Liz. So you want to go on to the next slide and we'll get talking about this. So a good portion of how we are getting Let's Go Build out. Oh, I lost the PowerPoint again. How we're getting Let's Go Build out to the world is through social media. And most of you will have seen our ads on your Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn feeds, because we are being very persistent with our advertising, and we're out there, and it's paying off. So on this page, you'll see just kind of like the performance of these ads, especially on LinkedIn. So what we're doing is we're using these channels to really get into the markets and get in front of the people who just they've not heard about the lumber and building material industry. And those are where the opportunities are to really start building that talent pool. So we can see that we're rolling it out 3 times a week on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We're raising that awareness. If you've seen our stuff so far on your channel, you'll know that it comes with these really amazing videos, and they're amazing because they feature real people in the industry doing the jobs that they love. And I don't think anyone could speak better than that. Certainly way better than an actor. It's really, really inspiring. And I think that the success of this campaign is showing that people are connecting with these stories. So I think we can go to the next slide now. There we go. Thank you. And one of the nice surprises of this campaign so far is that we've seen a really interesting, strong reception among the youngest demographics that we're advertising to. And that's exactly who we want in this industry. We want those young students paying attention and coming out of school looking for great jobs. And the stats are bearing it out that not only are they seeing it, but they are clicking on the stuff, specifically on the apps like Snapchat and TikTok that is where the young people are. And this is measured not just in, oh, did I see it? It's measured in that more meaningful measurement that they clicked on it, they did a thing. And if you had any experience, you've all had experience with an advertisement, and getting people to do a thing with your advertising is the 100% goal of it. So that is absolutely exciting that we're getting this reception, which means that we've found some labor pool. Now we just have to get them moving along to that next step. So I think we're ready for the next slide. Just one of the stats that is still on the screen. You can see 10,000 hits to the website, which is, I mean, we typically on the WRLA website, this is the Let's Go Build website. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. 10,000 hits to the website. That's pretty great. And then it's not just social, because we have our industry is deep. So we are also dealing with traditional media. We've got print in the mix. We've got online stories through the newspapers, and we've got podcasts, which kind of straddle that line between old and new. So we're working with Post Media internationally. Liz and did a really great to see it on the slide here. This is the actual newspaper page. So Liz did an interview with the National Post. It was across Canada. Post Media then shares it through all of their social channels, gets our campaign even further. We've got a follow-up interview coming out, as you can see, Calgary Herald, Edmonton Journal, Vancouver Sun, Vancouver Province, Winnipeg Sun, and yet another interview coming in local publications. So Edmonton Sun, Calgary Sun, Regina Leader Post, Saskatoon Star Phoenix. And then Liz is also featured in an interview with the Journal of Commerce, and she'll be appearing on the Canadian Contractor podcast. So all of this is just to say that we are making the biggest noise we can, because we so strongly believe in the potential of this program to help us with some of these labor challenges that we've discovered. And I think you'll see that it's just going to keep snowballing, because people have been so receptive to what we've put out there, and we're just going to keep rolling with it. The next thing up will be that you'll see is the stuff in the Sun and these newspapers I mentioned. And we'll, of course, toot our own horn. And once these newspaper ads come out, once the interview comes out, we'll share it on our channels. And then we're coming into the end. We'll mention it again. But one of the best ways that all of you can get involved is when you see this stuff, share this stuff, because all of you have your own set of followers. All of you have your own set of connections. And so by taking the stuff that you see and sharing it to them, that is the first and foremost best way to get involved with us. So now we're going to talk a little bit about going where the job seekers are. As I mentioned, we're finding them. And it's kind of divided into phases. The first phase has really been about awareness and just saying, hey, this is the lumber and building material industry. It's a fantastic place to work. If you haven't heard about us, now you're hearing about us. So phase 2 is going where the job seekers are and looking at engagement, going back to that getting them to do a thing, which is getting them to click through, getting them to check the job portal, working on engagement with schools and job fairs. That's going to be a piece we're looking at as the year goes on, is taking all of this great stuff and bringing it into a strategy to directly connect with students and people looking at job fairs. Right now, we're already listed on the job portal of the state school. We're conducting a campus outreach. We're reaching out to colleges and universities. We're going to be having employer sessions to meet potential employees at trade colleges. We're reaching out to organizations that serve military veterans and their families, and we're reaching out to new immigrants. We're really casting as big a net as we can, because that's where we're going to find the fish. So Let's Go Build is focusing on the industry at large with the career opportunities across the whole sector and the diversity of openings. That feeling and scent. That's why in these videos, there's people that no matter what it is you like to do, there is a job doing that inside an industry that is fantastic. Next slide. You can see Micah flag that Liz was just talking about on this slide here. Micah is the focus in one of the videos where you get to learn a little bit more about his journey in industry. So it's that one's well worth checking out. Now we're coming into, I was talking about the engagement. This is where the top engagements. That's where the jobs are. So I think we mentioned it for anyone who saw the last webinar, or anyone who saw the recording of that webinar. We talked a little bit about that, but let's just go in here for a second and talk about this career portal one more time. This is where you do the thing. You come from the advertisement and I want to work in this industry. How can I do it? So you look up the province that you're in and the city that you're in, and up come WRLA members. And as much as possible, we've indexed this website directly to your career page. If you've got a place on your website that you're posting careers, that's what we tried to find, and that's where your link goes when it comes up on this page. Big success. So conversions for people who viewed this page were 14 times more than we expected in the first period. So that's over 100 page views just as of June 20. So that's great. Where we need your assistance to make sure it's hitting the mark is make sure those places where you've posted your jobs are showing up. If you've got a careers page, if you can go on this portal, which is www.letsgobuild.ca, go to this portal and look for your location. See what comes up and make sure it's the right thing. And if it's not, you got to let us know. And then that's where we'll make the update. And that's where we'll make sure that you are getting the best service out of this program, because that is what it is all about for us. We love doing this, but this is about you. This is about you finding your perfect fit employees. So that is, if I can say nothing else, you remember nothing else, it's help us make sure you are getting the most out of this, and it'll only continue to get better from there. So I think, Liz, we can go to the next slide. Thanks, Anu. The link to that career portal is right in the chat. How to get involved, part 2. Let's just recap. There is a specially created toolkit to help you take advantage of this program. It's ready for you to download. We can hang on this screen for a little bit. Take your phone, scan this QR code. It goes right to a download of this program. I think it's it's a Word document. The high level bullet points of what you're going to find in there. Tips to make sure your website's up to date. Tips on posting clear and compelling job openings to make sure you're attracting people on that job opening, that the story of that job is connecting with them. Again, making sure you've got your careers page on your site. If you don't have one, you might think of putting one on, adding that little extra tab at the top. Then making sure that like I just said, making sure that what we have on that career portal is the best link for you. And then the last thing is talking about supporting the program and getting the word out there and spreading it as far as possible. Because the more people that see this, the more people are going to click on this, the more people are going to click on it, the more applications we're going to get for these jobs. So we'll just leave this on for a second. So if you want to use the QR code, we'll just give it a minute. And if you have any questions, keep going in the chat. We're going to be looking at everything towards the end of the webinar, and then we'll make sure that everyone gets a chance. We'll talk to as many of them as we can. How to get involved. We've been talking about that. I've been doing it over and over again. This is just a little thank you to the people who have already, the companies that have already been helping us share this stuff out. You can see some samples here of what it looks like when you or your social media person, if you have one, or your marketing person, if you have one, are sharing out the stuff that they're seeing. So we're just taking this moment here, slide to say thanks. If you've been sharing stuff, we appreciate it. This, as I mentioned before, it seems like a little thing, but to like it and share it to your network, because undoubtedly every single one of you has at least a dozen followers that we don't have, or a dozen connections that we don't have. Probably more. I'm just picking a number out of my hat because I bought the eggs this morning. So when you share our stuff to them, it's that's making this program grow. When this program grows, everyone does better. So let's go to the next slide, Liz. And this is the website. So just giving you that website one more time. So that brings us to the end of the formal slides. Let's just take a quick look at the chat and see if we've got any questions that we need to answer. No, I don't see any. I don't see any yet. So now if you've got any, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer. And Liz, feel free to jump back in and we can all chit chat together here.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. That was great. And just one comment I did want to make is that we needed a starting point when it came to producing some of the videos. And of course, going through this type of a program is a significant investment, and we needed to make sure that we were able to get all the material we needed within a brief time frame. So we did start off with 4 different organizations, but we certainly are looking to expand the reach. So as we continue to expand what the next phases of this campaign are going to look like, and we have an onboarding package that's a part of it. We do have some alternate, we would like to have other videos as well, because we want to expand on what we've built. If there is interest from your part to participate, please do let us know. We really do want to showcase every angle of the industry, and we have tech that's involved, which we don't always necessarily showcase and talk about. And we have more than just lumber. And I think that's one thing that we really also want to get across to everyone is the industry is more than just about lumber. We do touch every single building material, and we want to make sure that we're showcasing that. So we'll continue to reach out. But of course, if there's an area of interest, please reach out, send an email. We would be happy to include you and make sure that we're being very, we have big picture, and that we're giving everyone the opportunity to participate should they choose to do so. Okay, so Micah has a question. How would you guys introduce or talk about this initiative in person with people who... Yep. How would you guys introduce or talk about this initiative in person with people who you know do business with? And this would be for us. From our perspective, as we start to continue to hit the road, it's certainly an area where we're going to continue to bring this forward to our members. We're continuing to expand our team so that we can expand our reach. And as we do that, we'll bring this forward with our members as well. We really, if there is something that you need from us, if there's something that we're currently not doing in terms of sharing these packages out, we don't want to inundate everybody with too many emails, because we already know that there's so many that's there, or that we're all getting, and many of us have inboxes that get a little out of control with all the newsletters that we sign up for. So we do have the separate website, but if there's some effective ways that we can communicate this, we're happy to do that. And it might be a little too early for me to tell you this, but we are working on this. We're also going to be launching our year-round digital app. Up until now, we've really focused on having a digital app for the WRLA showcase, but we want to make sure that we're engaging with all levels of our membership. And if we have a digital app, anyone who is signed up on your account, so when you log into your WRLA account on the web, any of the contacts that are listed there will then have access to the digital app. So we want to make sure that we're expanding the reach as much as possible. So we do have our social media. We've got our website. We have our e-news that we communicate. We're going to continue to feature podcasts on this as well, because we want to continue to expand the reach outside of the industry. And then, of course, we'll have our digital app, which is another tool for us to be able to reach and communicate with members as well. And then, of course, when it comes to the career fairs, which I didn't see if anyone had responded to that, But if there is interest in industry career fairs, which I know verbally I've heard from a few folks, certainly an area that we're going to continue to look at building as we start to also expand our team. So, Micah, I hope that answered your question. Chris, do you have a question?
I just wanted to add, because you were talking about social media, and I just wanted to, like, as a final point here, that the sharing goes both ways. So once you check out this the toolkit, or once you're doing anything on your side as a business owner, about, like, use the hashtag Let's Go Build, because we want to share your stuff too. That's, I think, a piece that I didn't mention when I was going through, but that's just as important. When you're getting out and doing stuff that's getting this program out there, use that hashtag Let's Go Build, because that is how we'll find out that you're talking about it. And once we see that you're doing that, we will use sharing it out. That's just like the final little piece of that I wanted to add. Thanks.
Really good point. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Micah. And I really want to apologize for our feed today. I'm not sure what's going on with our internet. It's usually not this bad, but seems to be we're having a webinar and we're having some issues. So I apologize for that, and thank you for your patience as we navigate through this. Now, is there any follow-up information you'd like to see from us after today's webinar? You can put that in the chat, or if you want to email us or have a conversation, happy to chat with you about the initiative itself, what we're going to do. And of course, if you have some suggestions on how we can even improve the way that we're promoting the careers, we're open to feedback. This is about serving our members and serving the industry, and we want to make sure that we're doing the best that we possibly can for you and your businesses. So please let us know if there's anything else that we need. And more information on the career fairs. Would like to participate. Okay, great. That's awesome. I suspected that would be a winner. Our camera back on, but I just have impact on the field. I am smiling. I'm very excited that we had the chance to connect here today, and we are getting close to that time where we need to let you get back to work. If you do have any follow-up questions, suggestions, please give us a shout. And as we start to work towards some of those career fairs, we'll be sure to connect with you to make sure that we can engage with you and make sure that we have the best presence possible so that we can attract a lot of talent and really ultimately create that funnel of labor pool that our industry really needs. Anu did share the survey link, so if you want to click on that link and you needed a little bit more time to provide us with some responses, please feel free to submit that. We will check that and come back to it. And if there are follow-up questions, we'll connect with you as well. And if there are no further questions, which I'm not seeing any quite yet, I guess I don't need to share my screen anymore. I think it probably close off the webinar. Thank you so much for your time. We very much appreciate it. And again, happy to engage with you as you would like some help with some of your programs and services. So we wish you a really great day, and we'll see you at the next webinar.